My neighbor Cedric has been leaving me notes for weeks, but this morning's was signed by someone I've never met. Part 2. The 4 words at the bottom of that note burned into me the moment I read them. I sat there on those cold porch steps, just staring at the paper, because they told me everything I hadn't wanted to know. The name signed at the bottom was Alma Devereaux. The 4 words were, he asked me to. Alma was Cedric's younger sister, someone he had never once mentioned to me in the entire time he'd been leaving notes on my doorstep on Dunmore Street. She had driven 3 hours that morning, waited in her car until my kitchen light came on, then walked up my steps and laid the note down exactly the way Cedric always did, folded twice, pressed flat, centered on the mat. I called the number she had written on the back of the envelope, and she picked up on the first ring, like she had been sitting there with the phone already in her hand. Her voice was careful and low, the way someone sounds when they've been choosing their words for days. She told me Cedric had been diagnosed 8 months ago, stage 4, no real options, and that the notes to me had started almost immediately after. He had never told anyone on Dunmore Street. He didn't want to become a man people pitied. He wanted to just keep being Cedric for as long as he could. But when his hands got too unsteady to write, he called Alma and dictated the whole thing word by word. She said on the last note, he made her read it back to him 3 times before he was satisfied. She told me he had refused to include anything that sounded like a goodbye. Those 4 words at the bottom were hers alone, because she thought I deserved to know why the notes were stopping. I hung up and stood in my kitchen and read the letter again from the beginning. And I understood, finally, what every single one of his notes had actually been about. The oak tree, my garden, the way the street looked in November. None of it was small talk. It was a man running out of time, deciding to spend some of it on me. I drove to the hospital that afternoon. When I walked through the door of his room, Cedric looked up and said, perfectly calm, I figured Alma couldn't keep a secret. He looked tired, but his eyes were the same. He asked if I'd eaten. I hadn't. He moved over and told me to sit, so I did. He passed 11 days later. Alma called me the morning it happened, and neither of us said very much, just her breathing on the line and mine. I still have every note he ever left. I keep them in the drawer by my front door, so every time I leave the house, I remember what it looks like when someone chooses to show up for you quietly without ever asking for anything back. Follow so you don't miss what comes next.